Hi, gang. Welcome to Ghostly Activities. I'm your guide, Jacob Rice. Please call me Jake. And on today's episode, I interview Amy Beal and Chryssa Brazil. They found some strange and possibly ghostly activity when they drove their Tesla through a cemetery. Let's get to the interview and get the scoop on their spooky adventure. Amy.
Yes.
What inspired you to take your Tesla into a cemetery?
I saw a video when I was scrolling through TikTok of people taking Teslas through the cemetery and then seeing people where there were no people. The first one initially that inspired me to do this was a group of people in a Tesla. They were driving through a cemetery near the Conjuring house, and figures started coming toward the car. And when I got the Tesla, I was like, you know what? I need to take this to a cemetery. And that's when I told Chryssa about it and showed her the video and was like, we should take the Tesla through a cemetery. And she said, let's do it tonight.
Mm-hmm. So Chryssa, I was going to say, why on earth would you listen to your BFF to go looking for dead things in the cemetery?
So I'm always kind of on the lookout for something that is spooky that might kind of be true. And I was very skeptical of this anyway, because we did watch some videos and it seemed that we had heard that Tesla does put Easter eggs in their electronics in the car. So we were kind of interested. I was interested anyway in debunking the theory. So I was kind of looking at it as just kind of more of a fun horror story that I could have. And Amy's always up for that. So we have a really good time.
Okay. So Amy.
Yes.
What was the cemetery you picked and why did you pick it?
It was random because I had to charge the Tesla. And the charging port's in Tukwila. And I was like, well, let's look for cemeteries in the area. So I'm looking them up and we were like, okay, there's one here. So we went and we drove over to that cemetery, and it was a newer cemetery. And I know that a lot of people were saying that oh, it's probably picking up the gravestones and it's thinking they're people. But this cemetery, because it was a newer cemetery, it had very few headstones, and a lot of the graves were just the placards on the ground.
Yeah.
So it was very flat. There was very minimal bushes, minimal trees. And so
yeah, it was almost like a plot of land that was just there. And it was pretty small. We chose it because it was convenient, actually.
So you're in the Tesla. You've gone through the gates. I'm assuming they're gates. I'm not familiar with the cemetery, but you enter the cemetery. When did the Tesla start reporting potential ghosts?
It didn't happen right away. It's kind of driving along the paths and we didn't see anything. And then we saw a rabbit that ran in front of the car, and the car showed it as being an animal. It wasn't until we were almost done with our getting close to our first go around that we saw what appeared to be a human figure. And it was the legs were kind of moving, but it kept flashing in and out, and it kept getting a little closer. And then Chryssa noted that the face was shining.
Yeah, the eyes were shining, the face and the eyes. And I'm like, why would that even be?
Did the Tesla report how far away the object was?
On the screen, there's a map. It doesn't really kind of give you a distance, but you can kind of gauge from the screen layout where it might be, because it was other markers were showing up like when they would have traffic cones and when they had trash cans, and it kind of puts it how far it is from the road. And it seemed like the figure would disappear and that it would come back, but each time it was a little bit closer. And I was like, it's going to be right next to where it's supposed to be standing, is going to be right next to where the passenger side window is.
That was the second time around, though. On our second go around is when we saw more. And then that one was right by the door.
Are you in the front seat at this time?
Yes, I am in the front seat.
As you're seeing the figures, were they moving directly toward the car? Like, what was the move?
No. So, for the most part, they were pretty far away from the car, actually, several paces, and they seemed to be kind of just milling about in the open space. Like, I never felt like any of them were coming up to the door handle, like in the other video I saw. But they were getting closer and there was a lot of stuttering, right? So it wasn't like a static figure the whole time. There was this strange, like static stutter flickering, almost like an old movie where the lights would flicker and then sometimes they would be closer once we saw them again. It wasn't like a stationary figure the whole time coming towards us. Okay. So that made it even kind of spookier because you weren't sure where or if it was going to pop back up. Okay. So that one time around when it popped up right next to the car door, I flipped out because I wasn't expecting it. So yeah, it was a little spooky.
Could you see anything? Anything
out in the environment? Like when it was close or when it was far away?
Well, both.
So when it got closer to the car, I really just saw a mass like concentration of white, like light.
Is this on the Tesla screen or are you? I'm talking more about.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's on the Tesla screen. Now, just in real life, no, I would look and I saw nothing.
Was there a fog?
No.
Okay. My next question would be, you said overall it was flat. You didn't have raised headstones. Like when I think about a headstone, I don't think about the little plaque on the ground. I think
that is correct. Most of them, in fact, I would say a good 90%, if not even more, were plaques.
Okay, so there wouldn't be the chance of, like, you know how they polish the marble and stuff that could create a reflective surface.
Correct. That I would say that did not happen here. There were not enough. If there was even one. I think most of them are plaques. I don't even know if I saw an actual tombstone.
So, Amy, as you're driving and you're seeing these figures, what's going through your head?
The investigator in me, with the paranormal, I wanted to get out of the car. I wanted to walk over there. I wanted to see, like, you know, how it felt, wishing I had some kind of equipment with me. But my passenger wasn't feeling very confident in that choice.
No.
What does seeing these figures mean to you?
For me, it was a bit of an epiphany moment because I do want to believe in more of these things. It just always seems that it could either be a human saying that it's happening just for, you know, scandalous purposes, or it can be explained away by some other phenomenon. So for me, I really wanted to believe. So I got really spooked out. The whole feeling I had inside of me was one of trepidation, and I don't want to say fear, but definitely like my hackles were up, you know, like I had the spidey sense where I was like, something's going on here and it doesn't feel right and I can't really explain it. And because we did things a little differently at both cemeteries, it made me still have a bit of a plausible inkling to that this could actually be something paranormal instead of just something silly.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ghostly Activities. I know it's been a hot minute since the last episode, But Ghostly is back and I'm recording new ghost stories. So, if you like this podcast, please rate, review, share it with your friends and family. It really helps. And take care and look for new episodes every 2 weeks.